What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So today I want to cover two popular penny stocks that we made full in-depth videos on last week. Again, I'll put two of these in the description below to those videos, and they are Healthier Choices, ticker symbol HCMC, and High Tide, ticker symbols HITIF. So as I said, as we covered both of these in detail last week, again in the description below, I won't be going into what the companies actually do. Today, I just want to focus on updates in terms of catalysts for either of these companies that will affect their share price going forward. But just two things as always. Firstly, I am not a financial advisor and you need to do your own due diligence before investing any of your hard-earned money. And second of all, as always, if you're new around here, it'd be much appreciated if you consider subscribing to the channel, as we're currently on 911 subscribers, so we're trying to get to 950 by the end of this week. And with all that being said, let's dive right into today's video. So firstly, it kind of goes without saying that over the last few days, the markets have been quite volatile, with a lot of people panic selling. However, again, as you know, if you watch any of my prior videos, that I'm all about dollar cost averaging. So anytime I see my stocks go into the red, it just makes me buy more. So tomorrow, and again, this is for tomorrow's video, I'm going to be buying a lot more stocks. I'm going to be depositing a further 500 or 600 euro into my account to bring us up to about 7.5% towards our 100,000 euro goal. So we can see on screen here that the markets have started to recover again, and we're back to over the 7,000 mark, so I'm quite happy with that. So it's going to be interesting to see how HCMC and HITIF have been performing over the last few days. At time of recording, HCMC is currently trading at 0.0029 of a cent per share. So they are down quite badly over the last week or so. We can see even here from the chart that they are down about 32.5%, which even for a penny stock is a lot. On the one-day chart, even though, as I said earlier, the markets have started to recover today, HCMC has dipped a further 6.5% today, again, which isn't really promising. The other company we're going to cover today is another popular cannabis stock in the form of High Tide, ticker symbol HITIF. Today it's currently up about 0.5%, trading at about 62 cents per share. Over the last week or so, it's currently up 1.9%. Again, this isn't a whole lot for a penny stock, but given the current circumstances of the market and a lot of positions in the red, it's kind of good to see companies such as High Tide still in the green. So firstly, let's start with High Tide. Now, again, with a lot of these penny stocks, it's imperative or very valuable for a lot of stakeholders to ensure that their penny stocks don't have a lot of debt, and as debt can kind of destroy a lot of these smaller companies. And it's very promising news to see here, as we can see on the article, that High Tide has covered a further 20 million off their debt, and they've converted it into equities and have provided other updates that we're going to go through right now. You can see on screen here that from the period February 1st to the 19th, that they have some of their various shareholders have converted the debentures totaling 19.8 million and converted them into common shares of High Tide. And also, these conversions are over and above the 7.3 million of debt converted by the company's press release dated February 1st, which gives the company an additional $2.4 million in foregone interest costs. Also, another piece of this article that's worth noting is their acquisition of Smoke Cartel. This was announced at the end of January, and we can see that Smoke Cartel here is a leading e-com retailer of consumption accessories, including glass water vapes and vaporizers, as well as hemp-derived CBD products. So again, this is on track for the middle of March 2021. So this is going to be interesting to see how this acquisition will affect the share price as well going forward. So in summary, for High Tide, that kind of seems to be the only kind of update for this company over the last week since making my first original video on this company. The kind of two main things again are their clearing of 20 million in debt, which is a huge benefit to the company, and also that their acquisition of Smoke Cartel is going forward as planned in the middle of March. So again, that should have a positive impact on their overall share price. With a lot of companies in the cannabis sector, especially penny stocks, High Tide is certainly one of my favorite in terms of the penny stock sector, as I believe it kind of has a lot going for it. We mentioned in the last video as well, that I linked below, is that they have a lot of different products and diversified products for all kind of consumers within the sector, which is very promising to see. And they're always trying to improve their e-com sector as well. For example, just by buying the Smoke Cartel will also benefit them hugely in the e-commerce sector. But in my own opinion, what really will be the defining factor for these style companies going forward will be the US regulations in terms of cannabis. So if they do go ahead, and if the laws are relaxed or eased, then companies such as High Tide, if they can acquire any US companies in the sector, have a huge chance of progressing. So in terms of HCMC, I'm quite surprised to see that there's not a whole lot of news over the last week or two for this company since making my original in-depth video. Again, I link this below. Again, in my own opinion, I think about 95% of the people invested in HCMC at the moment are only doing so not because of the company itself, but because of the lawsuit with Philip Morris. So I'll talk very briefly about that in a few seconds, as I kind of did a more in-depth video on this last week. But in my opinion, a lot of people are just waiting on this news, and the other 5% I believe have bought this stock again, and not for what the company actually does, but just for the kind of novelty of it, which kind of sounds stupid, I know. But for example, even a few weeks ago, I bought about €10 worth of the stock, and I got about 2,500 shares, which is insane when you actually think about it. But now just have a very brief look at the lawsuit and what it can actually mean. Investor Place have a quite well laid out article here in terms of what the lawsuit actually is about with Philip Morris. I'll only very briefly discuss this, as I'm sure you're already aware if you have any holdings within HCMC. So if you're not, it's basically HCMC are suing Philip Morris for patent infringements back in November 2020. However, thanks to Reddit users, this has kind of gained more traction again and has brought to light for a lot of new investors that are kind of planning to see if they can win this lawsuit, effectively driving the share price up and taking a quick kind of profit. In my own opinion, I don't think there's a lot of long-term investors within this company. I think a lot of people are waiting for this news, and if it kind of goes in favor, well and good, they'll sell the stocks on the hype. And if it doesn't, I feel a lot of people are going to just kind of disregard these stocks and sell, because they're so cheap at the moment anyway, and I doubt that people have a whole lot of their overall capital invested within this company. The patent infringement was for the 170 IQOS tobacco vapor product, and they're currently suing them for that. So in my opinion, there's kind of three things that can happen from this lawsuit. Either kind of the obvious things. Number one, HCMC could win this lawsuit, effectively giving them a huge windfall of cash, which will drive up their share price. Two, obviously as well, Philip Morris could counteract this and actually win the lawsuit, effectively could disastrous effects for HCMC if Philip Morris won. Our third option that a lot of people are actually discussing as well is the option of Philip Morris actually buying out HCMC, which could be both beneficial for HCMC and Philip Morris, because Philip Morris will not want to tamper their reputation, especially with smaller companies such as HCMC. So they could well and truly do that. Effectively, if they did that as well, it'd be very interesting to see how the share price would react to this acquisition or merger. So again, time will tell, and there isn't a lot of news out there at the moment in terms of this lawsuit. But certainly over the coming weeks, it will definitely gain traction, and we'll have a lot better chance of seeing how this is going to go when that comes up. So in summary, I have very small positions within HCMC. Again, as I mentioned earlier, extremely small position of only about 10 to 15 euro at the moment, which still equates to about 2,500 to 3,000 shares, which is kind of insane when you actually think about it. In terms of High Tide, I have again very small position in comparison to my overall portfolio. I only have about 50 euro invested at the moment in High Tide. And the reason I have in High Tide isn't because of this whole speculation lawsuit such as HCMC. I do kind of believe that High Tide has a lot going for it, especially because it's still a penny stock. I don't really expect it to fly up in value anytime soon, but again, I do feel that as having a small portion of your capital in such companies as High Tide, again, it doesn't have to be High Tide, whatever sector you wish to invest in, I do believe that you need to have kind of some of your capital, albeit a small amount, in companies like that, because as you can see through my other videos, the vast majority of my 7,000 euro invested is in diversified blue chip companies, so it's always good to have a bit of excitement on the side as well and kind of have a bit of speculation. So with all that being said, that's pretty much it for today's video. Again, I just wanted to bring up very little updates, albeit kind of small enough updates on those two companies, HCMC and HITIF. I would have thought there would have been a lot more kind of updates, especially because these are kind of hype penny stocks at the moment. However, what I stated in today's video is kind of the only updates since I made that detailed video a few days back. Again, I won't be adding anything further into either of these stocks at the moment. HCMC, I just want to see how the lawsuit goes, and even if it does go ahead, I won't be buying more shares in that company. Again, as I feel that if they even win the lawsuit, the price will go straight up and it could come crashing back down the second all the hype is gone. In terms of HITIF, I nearly keep that position at the moment. Again, if it goes up or down in value, I won't be adding to those positions either at the moment. I don't really feel there's any point, to be honest. Again, there's no news or catalysts out there that would suggest otherwise, so I'm going to leave as is. If you found this video anyway helpful or entertaining, it'd be much appreciated as always if you're new around here to consider subscribing to the channel. And always, again, if you consider liking the video, it would really help the channel out going forward. And most importantly, if you have any comments, questions, queries or suggestions, please don't hesitate to comment below and I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Enjoy your evening and I will see you all in tomorrow's video.